this out of the way. I guess now that I have this transparent, I can bring it a little bigger. What if the window size? Oh yeah, it does. Look at that. Alright, so I'm going to keep today maybe a little easier. Let's see what I got in my box here. Ah, it's random kawaii. So this one I have labeled as just reflow. That might be having charger connection issues. And then I have about... Which one's this? Oh, this is game card slot. That one's going to be... That's a different day. And then I have 5 boards that need new charge ports. You can see their prongs are exposed and free floating. So I think I'm going to work on these 5. I need to see how many extra charge ports I have. I know I'm kind of getting low. I might not have enough. Perfect, it looks like I have enough. So I have a little pile of them right there in the corner. Actually I have a little baggie of 5 right there. Perfect. Oh, that's perfectly fine, I understand. I know I won't have much time today either. I'll be house sitting for my sister here in 5 or so hours, so I'm gonna have to start packing. But until then, I have a touch bit of time, so might as well do this. Get some of this out of the way. See if I run into any issues that I can add to my grader document. Now, if these charge ports are anything like the ones I've dealt with, they're all going to have to be bent. Yeah, those contact prongs are way too long. I'm going to have to modify them. One thing at a time here, so I'll put those aside. Let me get this in a rig. See how it behaves. I'm not going to set it... Well, I probably should. Just to see if the thing turns on and if there's no other associating issues, but... With the note I have on this board, I should probably bring up my notes on this motherboard. Just having a sticky note on it makes it a whole lot easier for me to just look at it and go, oh, instead of me trying to track down the serial number. I really should get like a barcode scanner that will bring up the file, since all of these serial numbers have barcodes on them. That's a little beyond the technology I have, but... I didn't necessarily need to put the Wi-Fi board in, but... Okay, and get this out of the way. So I have a pretty bold guess as to what the problem is. Oh, nothing. Okay, that might be a fuse. I plugged everything in right. Pretty sure. So I'm guessing maybe the main fuse is blown. The one right downstream of the charge port. That's usually how this problem manifests. Yeah, I got nothing. Okay. Let me just take it a step further here and see if the thing will boot. It will boot without that fuse, it just won't charge without that fuse. I don't necessarily need the touch screen. But if I'm turning it on, I might as well wipe it. Kind of kill that bird while I'm at it. And if there's any other problems that crop up. Power's up. Charge light isn't going. Nothing unusual. Did I plug in the... thought I plugged in the ribbon cable for the touchscreen. I did. Why aren't I getting a response? The console isn't frozen. The little icons are still going. I kind of do something you probably shouldn't do. That latch isn't broken. Oh, it froze. Okay. Yeah, it probably didn't like me taking out the touchscreen and putting it back in while the thing was on. Yeah, it was definitely seated. I know there's just going to be a point to where I just fatigue these cables to the point of them breaking, internal traces, or just traces in the ribbon cable. I think I have another touchscreen kicking around that I can try. I do. I have a couple. Just another tester board. Yeah, that's weird. I don't get any touch. Methinks this either I've sent this poor ribbon cable past its point and fatigued the traces, or this console's not responding to touch inputs. I didn't try a calibration, but I'll try another screen. Now this screen is marked as yellowed, which I've actually found a fix for. Involves taking these screens apart and replacing the light guide plate. I don't necessarily need this in my tester lot, if I can save it. I've only ever attempted that twice. I've gotten kind of mixed results. Yeah, that's aggressively yellowed. Yeah, this console doesn't respond to touch inputs. Huh. This one might be a little more complex than I expected. I am not familiar with the touchscreen, how that touchscreen is interpreted in this console, or in these consoles. Oh, I think I see the issue. Let me grab my microscope. I don't think I've ever seen this before. This latch wasn't replaced. Unless there's somebody that's like a god with a solder iron. Oh, maybe not. Okay. It looked like a couple of those pins weren't making good... Let me... Let me poke them. It kind of looks like those two pins on the left aren't making contact with the board. Holy shit, my pick is a little too big. I need a sewing needle. Did these traces break? Or they didn't? Well, no, they're still on there. It looks like they aren't attached. I guess I know how to... Just run continuity testing. That should tell me whether or not it's actually making contact. It goes through this EM18. I don't know what EM18 is. Let's kind of touch the... I wonder if I can get contact from right there. May not even go... It goes to that pin. Bye, Kawhi. Have fun with life endeavors. Where does this fourth pin go? Oh, it just goes into this via. It's fine. Doesn't look like it's really on there, but I'm getting continuity through it. So by all accounts, I should be making contact. The latch is fine. It should be pushing enough pressure on it. I'm not familiar enough with diagnosing diode arrays. I may have to set this one aside. This one might take a lot more investigative work than I think I'm willing to do today. I'm going to try one more screen. My tester screens aren't great, but they should work. This would be a bad batch of test parts if they didn't work. So if 2 touchscreens didn't work, that would be extremely strange. If 3 didn't work, that would be, I would say, near impossible. I don't put these screens in my testing box without knowing they work. They just have unrepairable damage. Okay, that's in there. Turn off my microscope. Oh, there we go. Huh, weird. Yeah, this bottom display has a big pink line in it. Well, I'm getting touch input now, so I don't know what that was. Maybe there was just some gunk in that port. This touchscreen may not be the best either. I'm guessing most of these are somewhat faulty. Looks like it's registering inputs just fine, though. Ah, parental code. Darn you, conscious parents, and making my life a little more difficult. I'll once again bring up the MK generator, the M key generator, DSI. Need to set today's date. 11/21. One of these days, the master key will be a funny number. I can bet on that. Okay. Running 1.4.4U. Oh, God. Be gone, bot. Back to the shallow depths of hell from whence you came. Parental controls, yes. I forgot. Alright. DSI. Today's date, the 21st, 6534961. Master key is 48234. Voila. Begone, parental controls. Format, yes. Yeah, I don't need any proxies in my chat. Begone. Take your illicit activities elsewhere. Whoa, that formatted quick. I might have to look up. Sometimes, I've noticed that sometimes a console will format incredibly quickly, other times it will take what feels like actual minutes. So I wonder if that's just a symptom of older EEMC memory. Hopefully the chip isn't failing, if that's a sign, or maybe it's just an older batch. Yes, it happens to be January 1st of 2008. Okay, this console's fine. I don't know what was going on with the touchscreen. I'm guessing maybe a little bit of corrosion that I just kind of knocked free. Or just something. It wasn't just making good contact for some reason. Maybe just some gunk. Who knows? Good now. No problem with that once I got a stable connection with it. So now I need to figure out why it's not charging. It's behaving like the fuse. Let's see. I'm still on continuity. The fuse is not blown. Which is probably why I said it needs to be reflown. I think the only problem with that is even when I jiggle around the charge port, I'm still getting nothing. Oh! Never mind. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, that charge port needs to be reflown. Because I have to push it down in order for it to make contact, and by pushing it down, I'm sort of rocking the charger back onto its contacts. Either that, or I'm flexing the board just enough to whatever component isn't making contact is. I usually reflow not only the charge port, but the F1 fuse and EM1. It can be either or when it comes to those components. It could be just one, it could just be the charge port, or it could be the fuse, or it could be EM1. I just reflow all three of them. I figure that's, while I'm at it, it's kind of easy just to do all three at once. So to shift things around here. What I should do, what I keep forgetting, is I need to look up this motherboard. Just to make sure there's not any other noted problems. I would have probably scribbled it on the note, on that sticky note, but better safe than sorry. this one is 25106.012 U01 486V -32. It's this one. Reflow charge port charger only works when the charge end of the charger is held down. Yes, okay. I confirm that. Notes can be handy. And it didn't exactly mean for that window to pop up, but you know what? Kinda works. Alright, let's see. So it might be possible that that positive end on that charge port probably snapped, or just the solder joint broke. Kind of curious, actually. I usually don't do this because this is kind of pointless, because I'm just going to reflow them anyway. Ugh, pick has some goober on it. Old flux. It's way too big. So both those legs are pretty good. So then I usually surmise it's one of the solder joints on these components that are just not making good enough contact. So I just reflow all of them. You sort of zoom out, so to speak. I'm not melting my camera. Get everything set up. Oopsie. Gotta be careful when angling this iron so I don't accidentally melt the connector. A little more solder on that fuse. That should do it. So I bolstered up those solder joints, added a tiny bit of solder onto the charge port. A little bit was deposited on both sides of that fuse. I think I am good there. Bah. I didn't actually check to see if the charge port was still good. Yeah, still fine. A little plastic tongue in there is still nice and solid. There we go, nice and pretty. Let me get it back together and see what it does. I'm just going to put on the power board. I won't go too crazy here. Well, I'll put in the battery just to confirm a power draw. Oh. Voila. Power draw, solid orange light. Let's see how it behaves without a battery. Blinking charge light. Perfect. So this board is good. Okay, I already took off the Wi-Fi card. Since I have that sticky note, I'm just gonna go ahead and update it. Well, update it as in just put a check on it. And I'll update my document. Reflowed charge port. And I need to add that one to my, move it out of my repair folder. $25 10612 UL148 6V32. Okay, it's this one. All right, now I can move on to the charge port ones, the ones that need just a charge port. So these ones, I'll try and show. Ah. This is what a normal charge port should look like. It has that little plastic piece in there that sort of holds the copper prongs in so that it makes good contact with the charger when it's inserted, because the charger end, kind of like any other standard USB, is just a little piece of plastic in there with the contacts. And of course those marry up with the little prongs in there and the little plastic tongue in there to hold those copper prongs and just to help them make good contact. This one, however, not only are the pins a little mangled, but it's missing that tongue. It's completely broken off and has fallen off. And you could theoretically get a contact if you put the charger in, but it would be very unreliable. Because there's nothing pushing those copper contacts into the charging cable, so it would just be free floating. You could probably fold up a little piece of paper and sort of fake it till you make it, but not really a good fix. Well, even to call it a fix is a little outlandish. So what I want to do is just make sure sort of what the condition of this console is, just generally. I could probably wipe it while I'm at it. Get rid of my microscope. That was unfortunate. Touchscreen was behaving just a bit strange. It was only receiving right-hand inputs. Probably nothing, I'll just ignore that for now. Depending on how long this takes, I can start prepping a charge or a charge port. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So a lot of these I kind of have to modify. All the contact points and mounting pins are just pointed straight down, which that won't fit. I have to bend these up. In the case of the in the case of the four rear contacts, which are just two mounting pads, and the main two negative and positive, I have to actually clip. They're way too long. Usually just by flush cutting them to the port, that makes them long enough without interfering with installation. So I don't fire shrapnel everywhere. I'll try and aim down. That one I could probably leave a little more meat on. And then it'll look something like this, where it doesn't have those prongs just pointing down. Oh, I don't have a designated garbage spot. Wow, this one's taking a while. There it goes. Okay. There must be a grounding issue with this touchscreen. Weird. Again, these touchscreens are junk, so it's really not too surprising that that's an issue. It works, so I'll ignore it. If I have that issue when I'm putting this console together with good parts, then it's an issue. Alright. All things good considered, obviously can't assess the charging circuit, but I'll get that fixed here in a second. Now, there's a few ways to do the charge port. I haven't really nailed down which one I like. The one I was kind of most fond of is just clipping the old port off. I felt that to be the cleanest. Because I know heating from the bottom will kind of... I'll try heating from the bottom. I know what that does is kind of char the end of the motherboard, which I don't necessarily like doing, but should result in a clean lift off and put on. Can I get everything in position here? Oh, I think that's part of the charge port prong that's poking out the back right there. So I can grab it. Yeah, it is. Huh. Not important, but kind of funny. Sure, add enough flux. Get my hot air station going. Move my camera back just a little more so I don't melt it more than I already have. I'll be pounding some heat into this thing. The general idea is to try to like hot swap this. Take off the old port and put on the new one, but gotta be careful not to rip off those two mounting pads flanking the pins. Those things fall off. Those things rip off pretty easily. Yeah, like that. That charging pad ripped off. Guess that's gonna have to work. Okay, I guess that's up further enough than I expected. Since these front mounting holes are an oval, you have to kind of, or the charge port will sort of slide back and forth when you put it in initially. So you have to kind of slide it up far enough that it will poke out the end of the board just a little bit, so it sits in the case just fine. I thought I could push it out a little more than I did, but it looks fine from what I can tell. This pad fell off. Just the glue just sort of gave way on it. It's fine. It's a fairly benign pad. Those two look good. Looks like I didn't char the board that bad. Let me look at it. Right here. Yeah, not bad. Okay. I have to add more solder to those two pins. I think all I really need to do is sort of push those contact pins back a little bit. That's the old port. Let me put it in a case first. There's one that's not all banged up. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So it isn't in farther enough. Sort of recessed a little more than it should be. Okay. I need to pull it out a little more. I did kind of notice that with those contact points. They are way too, it's way too far back. Huh. So that one didn't want to move up. Let me remove the solder from these through-hole connectors. Maybe this charge port design is a little different than what I'm used to. So that's going to make this a little more difficult. There we go. Alright, both those through holes are mostly clear. Should maybe try and get that last little blob right there, if I can. That might be about as good as I can get it. Okay. Yeah, that's as far as it will go. So it needs to overhang just a little bit. Yeah, I have those pins all the way up the front. Okay, this is just probably going to be how it is then. So let me just add solder to those through-hole ports. Just fill those through holes nice and full of solder. Ah! Okay, the right side of the port looks good. I'm going to put a little more solder right there. Yeah, you can even see the rear of the leg doesn't line up with this pad. If I'm remembering correctly, I think the replacements that I'm usually familiar with those front two pins are much slimmer. So they allow for me to sort of move it in a way that is working to me, because everything that I'm aware of, this is way too far back, but there's nothing really I can do about that. Like the two pads for these two contact pins are way back there. I don't know, maybe these are just shoddy charge ports that I bought. Let me check the dimensions, actually. Oh, it's because it looks like... yeah. So the difference between the OEM one is this back piece is recessed, where this one's flush. So yeah, these ones are kind of shoddy. Damn it. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to do some modifying then. Let me see, because I'm not gonna be able to reach the contact pads. Goddamn third-party shit. So I think there's a via there parked on top of this pin. Kind of see it. Yeah. And then this needs to short to ground. So I'm gonna just have to... I can't really lift it up because that's gonna interfere. I just can't let it touch the F1 fuse, which it currently is. But how far back I can push it. So I'm guessing my other ones I might have to modify. Try and clip back some of that plastic. Okay, so I need to go in there and flush cut that little tip off. Okay. Push it back as far as I can so it doesn't think about bridging, and then I'm going to add a wire. Ooh, I even have a black wire. How thematic. Okay. I don't like doing this, but I don't really have a choice. Other than scrapping all 5 of my brand new charge ports, which I'm not going to do. I think the only problem I foresee happening is when I start putting this together in a case, it's going to be a little more snug than usual. I was kind of noticing that when putting it in that black case. It fit fine, it's just a little snug. Perfect. kind of crush the insulation there, but as long as it doesn't touch the side of EM1, it'll be fine. Now that it's actually mounted, I can sort of push it away. Okay, the negative end is connected. Really hard to say. Maybe? I think that may have done it. Let me run some continuity testing. Okay. They're not shorting together, which is good. And they're shorting where they need to go. I did kind of notice that this is kind of bucked up on that corner. This charge port is just bad. I don't know who made this, but this manufacturer made a really shoddy product that I'm gonna have to modify. Oh, the pain. Let's see how it fits. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use this charge port. I have to like really kind of shove it in. I really don't like that. Ugh. Okay. Well, shit. So what do I need to do with these extra charge ports that I have to make them usable? Right now, that's the one I pulled off. Then here's the new one. Yeah, you can tell the housing design is completely different. The two front prongs are far further up. I think the only way I can get that is just to flush cut those through holes. I really don't like doing that. That kills a lot of mounting support, but that's the only way I'm going to be able to get this thing into position. Because whoever manufactured these charge ports did not. Either that or the DSI is just so slightly different that I've never actually noticed. I don't think the DSI charge ports are different. It wouldn't make sense from a manufacturing perspective. I feel like Nintendo would find far more success just making all of these charge ports the same and modifying the board to accommodate it. Not the other way around. I'll have to undo my amazing wiring job. Woe is me. Oh. Ah, well, that's a problem. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Yeah, well, melted it. Oopsie. So another way I can do this is by putting, taking the charge port off with the heat and then manually reattaching it. I like that strategy a lot better anyway. I thought I could get away with kind of hot swapping it, but hot swapping led to melting. I don't necessarily like doing that. Oh well. Not exactly too pleased with these third party charge ports, so I'm no loss for me. More frustrating than anything. Let me get that solder off. There we go. Now what I guess I need to do is just cut everything flush. I have cut off a little too much on the positive and negative, but nothing a little more solder can't fix. I kind of want to clean up that area a little. Okay. Now with my heavily maimed charge port, just gonna try and see what it looks like in position. See, something like that. I just need to see how far it's poking out. I actually have some calipers. Let me just kind of get what the ideal distance is. I'm gonna have to kind of wing it. About 1.3 millimeters. It's about like that. maybe something like that. Gosh darn it. Yeah, so it'll be something like that. I think a discrepancy in about 0.5 mm shouldn't matter. As long as it's square. But I do have to kind of push it back a little further than the contacts. But nothing a little bit of solder can't fix. Something like that. The flux will hold it in place for me. I have to be really careful not to bump it out. If I need to clean this up later, I will. Looks like that grabbed onto it. I don't think I put any flux back here. Kind of melting the back of that charge port a little, but with the plastic being so close. Okay, let me just sort of flood the hell out of these. And then maybe try and get more robust connections in the front. Okay, even though there's no through holes, I think they'll be pretty robust. I think I got the two contact legs on. Did, like I said, kind of melt the back, but it's not really important. Let me check for continuity to see if those are indeed good connections. I cut the legs a little high, so they were kind of floating above. And we're good. That was a lot more difficult than that needs to be. Charge port repairs like that shouldn't be so particular. I've grown to appreciate the third-party charge ports that have the small through-hole legs, because these large through-hole legs are in the wrong spot. I haven't done enough work on DSIs to say if the charge ports are that drastically different, but they shouldn't be. It doesn't make sense from a manufacturing perspective. Because these are definitely not DSI charge ports, or DSI Excel charge ports. Should probably make sure that the little melted pieces doesn't, or that I didn't melt the inner part of this charge port. It looks fine. Because I was kind of looking at it, and I don't know if heating up those pins sort of sent heat through the rest of that plastic and just kind of wreaked havoc. Doesn't really look like it. Okay, so now kind of the test. Okay, that fits in the case a lot better. It's a tiny bit recessed, but that's sort of within margin. It fits within the shell nicely. And the recesses, yeah, like I said, within margin, it'll be such a little difference, if any at all. Well, let's sort of wave this motherboard around to dry it off. And put a charger to it and see what happens. I'm just basically I'm not really too well, I'll check and see if it charges a battery. Because that's not a circuit I was able to try. For somewhat obvious reasons. That's not my tester shell. Just a normal shell that I grabbed just in case. I am noticing that it's not really fitting in this shell very nicely. Now this shell is damaged in various spots. It's like bent right there. I think there's a dent right there. Just when I put in this motherboard, it's not really sitting in there nicely. Here's a better conditioned shell. Okay, it fits in this one just fine. I probably just didn't really notice that because this is a tester shell. The shell is really, the only purpose of this shell is just so that it holds the power board to hold the battery. Okay. Now, I didn't melt it. I think there's just maybe some flux in there. I hope I didn't melt it. No, it's fine. Charge plug was going in there kind of hard. Well, and obviously it works. It's also a brand new charge port, but it takes a little more effort to put it in and take it out, which I suppose is kind of a good thing. Okay, now what's the behavior like without a battery in? Huh, it was kind of behaving weird there for a second. Flashing orange light? Okay, I think this is good. Now let me look up this motherboard. 26106. One, two, 4WG38. It's this one. Placed charge port. Well, if all of them are gonna be like that, here's the next motherboard. I might not be able to do all of these today, which is kind of unfortunate. Alright, next motherboard, same problem, needs a new charge port. Let me get it plugged in, see if it boots. Because I necessarily don't want to put a charge port on a console that needs far more work, or may even have a problem I can't fix. I shouldn't run into a problem like that. If I do, it will be sort of... Really, the only consoles I'll ever consider, like, unsavable is if they're just water damaged beyond real repair or physically broken. Like, one of my junk boards has a good, like, bend in it. And I'm going to pick a real good guess that that board probably doesn't work. Never actually tried putting power into it, but I'd rather not fry a whole bunch of components if traces are just completely shredded. Okay. Cool. This screen is still being a chore. Where is my little plastic pick? There it is. Yeah, it's only wanting to register inputs over there. So this touchscreen is really not helpful. Oh, it's in Spanish. I didn't even realize that. Uh, Alright, this touchscreen is going to be a chore. Then I'll swap it out. It leading to random shutoffs like that is fairly interesting. And quickly just look at this ribbon cable for the touchscreen. Sometimes when these traces get fatigued, they just break. This one looks okay. Huh. I won't worry about it for now. It is something I'll have to keep in mind, though. Because random shutoffs are indeed a problem. Okay, so the touchscreens not working are just my tester touchscreens are in far worse shape than I expected. I really should just put a new touchscreen on one of these tester screens. Alright, that one works good. C. For Nintendo. Okay, no other outlining issues. Power's on, enter settings menu just fine. Both screens function. Well, not these screens, but the motherboard is able to power both screens. Alright, so now it's just a charge port. I don't know if I have it in me to put in another charge port, but what I can do is just take them off and pretty them up. Pretty up the areas and get them ready. Because I'm still a little frustrated that those charge ports don't fit and I have to modify them to that degree, because they should work. I'll find a day when I'm more patient and I can put them on. And I need those. Thankfully, taking them off and cleaning up the area is pretty easy. Just heat it up from the back like I was doing, and that seems to be popping them off pretty easily. I think that pad over there is just going to kind of have to be sacrificed well, I know just sometimes they come off, other times they don't. Whatever adhesive they use on that pad, there's nothing really holding it down. It just pops off. Not in the good way. And I know the tricky thing with these charge ports is they have so much metal on them, so it disperses all that heat. So I have to sort of do a combination of heating from the back to heat up the through-hole pins. And then I have to switch around to the top. Just to make sure that metal housing is warm enough. Getting close. There we go. Simple and clean. You know, I really don't have to take the solder out of those through holes. Or at least skim off if there's a little bit of extra on the top. Nah, I just yanked the solder out of it anyway. I'll be fine. It'll be nice and ready for when I put a charge port on. Very nice. Make sure this latch is closed so I don't break it off on accident. And you know what? I think I'm just going to attach the charge port on this one, and then I think I'll just call it a day. Just so I don't have a project half finished. Let me clip off the legs of this port. They're kind of going at a weird angle to really make these cuts. Wow, I just fired that little piece across the room. Should be good. Must have cut this leg off by accident. I don't remember snipping the side leg. Oh well, should be fine. Okay, I think that might be good. I really kind of eyeball the positioning here. Oh, never mind. You son of a bitch. I think that's good. No, it's not good. This is really tedious. I think that will do it though. Try not to bump it off again. I think I got it mounted. Okay. Switch port is in. Now I can kind of go ham on the solder. Oh, why did it do that? Well, that's greatly unfortunate. Next, speed run. Now I'm just gonna have to take it off and reset. Arrgh. I have a pretty good idea of what sort of reference cues I need in order to get it good. Like, I think right there is actually really good. Yep. Let's try this again. That's a more concrete joint. I'm actually going to turn this so I can see the other side. And not just sort of blindly do it. Okay. Looks like that's on for pretty good, finally. Just gonna get the through hole. It's nice and filled. Now the actual contact sides. Those look pretty good. I am kind of worried about this side of the mounting pin maybe being a little too bulbous. Let me see if I can just suck away a little bit of that solder. Okay, that might be a little better. Alright, let me check for continuity. Good. Okay, I'll let that dry. I'm gonna kind of clean up here. Get my solder iron and my hot air station kind of put away. Get the microscope off to the side. Since there's sort of metal pieces of the charge port here, I'm just gonna sort of do that little bit of number and that number just so it's out of the way. And I don't have metal shorting in weird places. Okay, fits in the shell good. The OEM shell. Oh, I don't need that. So let's see what happens when I plug it in. Solid light, pulling amperage. And behavior without the battery. Blinking, as expected. Cool, so this one's good. Let me put in my notes for this board that it's good to go. And I think that'll be it for me. Charge port kind of frustrated me more than it should, but okay, I updated that. Got a new charge port in. Nice and solid. Cool. 3 boards are good to go, ready to be deployed.